Oh,
Hey, the Hangout is live on air with the Sell a House Wholesale Real Estate Investing number 180 on this. I don't even know what the date is today. It's October something or other. I know that. Around the 20 something, and it is a Wednesday. It's a Wisdom Wednesday. And I don't know any of this information because I'm out on site here at one of our project houses at Tonto Street, having to correct one of our first mistakes. So nothing major, not a big deal, but could have been easily avoided. And lesson learned, won't happen again, which kind of maybe might play into today's theme. With that being a very awesome, sort of wet and cool Wednesday morning here in Phoenix, Arizona, I'm going to say hey, hey, hey to Mr. John.
yes. Happy rising, Paul. I didn't know that you would be on location at one of our projects. I know exactly what property you're talking about. I think this might be a great session today, if being it's Wisdom Wednesday, to point out a folly on a rehab project and talk about correct and continue and how we could avoid such folly in the future and bestow upon people some real life wisdom from a real life mistake, or if you will.
Yeah,
I have no idea what's going on, and I'm definitely now very interested myself to find out why you're at that property at
well,
8 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday.
because of the mistake is why I'm here. I should have been here on another day when I wasn't a hangout scheduled, and I wouldn't have to be here now. That's kind of how it all boils down. Basically, and the sort of maybe the thing that I was actually thinking about talking about this morning was um, on our call with Jeff, one of our mentors, the Street Smart Business Success call that we hang out with every every weekday morning at 7 a.m. He was
What's a
going,
week? What do you mean weekday?
oh
I
yeah,
only
yeah,
have
yeah,
strong days, brother.
yeah. Thank you very much for that. Slap, slap, slap. Reset. uh, that we hang out with every day of each session uh, in the middle. Not quite sure what we would call those now. Mid-session weeks, mid-session days, I guess. So anyway, active session days maybe. So anyway, on this call this morning, he's talking about the 40 sort of rules of successful salesmanship. And he was going through the list over yesterday and today. Didn't get finished yet, but got to number 35, which happened to be an apropos place to stop, being don't blame others when the fault is yours, or the fault or responsibility is actually yours. Don't blame others. And I was thinking about that on the drive over here. And the thing about that is, the bottom line to that really is, if something happens, whether it's your fault or whoever's fault it is, doesn't really make a difference. But when something goes wrong, something isn't done, something, fails to happen, something blows up, whatever, I mean, it is ultimately a human being's fault. Whose is the question? And if it is your fault, and I got to thinking even further, even if it's not your fault, but I'm just going to stay with, if it's your fault, if this happened because it was your responsibility, or you were supposed to do it, or it was on your shoulders, so to speak, and this, whatever it is, happened and it failed, the purpose behind that, there's an actual purpose behind that. And it's so that you can see and learn what your mistakes were, and learn and grow so that you don't have to make those mistakes again, and you become a better person, a stronger, more knowledgeable, smarter person, that thing doesn't have to happen again in your life. So if you blame someone else for that, how can you get that lesson of what it is that you screwed up on? Because I mean, if you just think about it, okay, hey, those letters didn't go out. Why didn't they go out? Well, gosh, I screwed up. My fault. I actually thought I could pass the responsibility on to, Joe over there. And so I sent them an email and asked him to get those letters out. And I never followed up with him to make sure he got the email and to make sure the letters were going out. So my fault, my bad. That will never happen again. But now if you turn that around and I just say, you know what? That lazy ass Joe, I sent him the email to get those out 3 days ago. I don't know what the heck that guy's problem is. He didn't do it. Okay. What have I just learned? Nothing. Jack. I didn't learn anything, right? I didn't learn a darn thing here. And the same problem is going to happen again the next time I think I'm going to pass off my work to Joe, and and he's not going to get the email, and it's not going to happen. But if I take the responsibility from the beginning, even just thinking about it right from the very beginning, oh, damn, those letters didn't get out. Shit, I blew it. My fault. I mean, I even created the result, the answer right there instantaneously, just taking the blame. I instantaneously created my own solution and learned the lesson right there on the spot. Boom, done, over. Never happen again. If I do want Joe to send the letters next time, what am I going to do? I'm going to send him the email. Then I'm going to give him a call, say, hey, Joe, did you get my email? I'm going to make sure I confirm, I'm not going to take anything for granted, and that's never going to happen again. So it's just a lesson. And today I learned a lesson. So I just figured John might have a little word or two to add to that before I get into what's actually happened here today.
I'm just going to add in that that's a very good little nugget of wisdom for people to keep in mind, is that, don't blame, don't justify, don't complain, don't make excuses for your mistakes. Oh, you make a mistake. If you own up to it, if you have the confidence just to admit, hey, I didn't follow through with this, or I needed to do this and I didn't, rather than look for a scapegoat, look for some way to feel better about yourself by passing that blame on to somebody else. You want to learn, you want to grow as a person, you want to get better at what you do, become a leader and build a powerful organization. You got to kind of own up to those mistakes and use them as opportunities to learn, to make different choices in the future. Or it might not even have been a choice. It just may have been a mistake made through ignorance. However, owning up to it is a much more powerful thing in your life than making an excuse. Sometimes it's easier to make an excuse or blame somebody else, but that's for weak people. We want to walk the road less traveled. We want to go the more difficult path so that we can grow deeper roots and produce bigger fruits, better things for our lives. That's kind of my feeling on that. And, every Tuesday morning, Paul and I have the opportunity to go to about a 90-minute mastermind session with someone here who got the blessed opportunity to work directly with T. Harv Eker, the author of The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And this book is broken down into 17 wealth files. Basically, it's a book to reprogram the most important computer in your life, and that's your brain. And wealth file number 1, the first piece of programming in that book that he states is, you want to start reprogramming your mind not to be someone who blames, justifies, or complains about things, because broke people do that. Rich people and successful people own up to their mistakes and learn from them. So that's where I want to toss in there. And I kind of just rushed through my little piece of information because I'm still kind of, okay, what happened over at Paragalamos already?
Well, I'm going to add one more little tidbit to the little conversation here about not blaming and complaining. Is that it's because going back to my little scenario there, okay, oh, you know what? Why didn't the letters go out? Well, I passed it on to Joe and Joe didn't do it, right? So on top of the fact that, number one, I'm giving up my opportunity to learn from my mistakes by blaming someone else. Not only that, but to an even worse level is now, even within myself, and especially once the boss man turns and goes over to Joe and says, hey, how come you didn't get these letters out when Paul asked you to 3 days ago? Now he's being blamed for something that really wasn't his fault. And so instantaneously, I've created an air of resentment and you know, so now he's going to resent me for, you know, pushing the blame onto him. And within myself too, I've generated an air of resentment in this lazy, you know, SOB doesn't do what I ask him to do. So now I've created this whole atmosphere at the workplace of, you know, adversity opposed to cooperation. And, you know, it's just another big factor that people don't even realize come out of you, you know, blaming someone else. Next time I send something over to Joe, right, because now he's got resentment against me for blaming him for this thing that really wasn't his fault. Next time I send something over to him, he's going to be like, oh, well, screw that guy, freaking blaming me for shit that ain't my fault. I ain't going to do this. You know what I mean? So that's a whole other piece of fallout from that. And to myself, I'm going to be like, well, you know what? I can't trust that Joe. You know, I'm not even gonna give him the opportunity to do this piece of work that could prove that he could use to prove himself as a high quality employee to advance himself in the organization. So because I think that he's a jerk now, I'm not even going to give him an opportunity like that. So that, you know, it just, there's a big fallout that goes along with it.
I'm still not sure if this is the hypothetical or if you're talking about the rehab project that we got going on.
Well, that's the hypothetical, but you know, it's looking at all these things. I just wanted to put out there what could happen had I approached this the wrong way.
Right,
You know?
and this
So,
harkens back basically to and we're going to keep mentioning the books on these hangouts that we read and that we like to teach lessons from, and not just teach lessons, but apply these concepts as Paul sounds like, you know, with this hypothetical situation.
oh, speaking of which, that SOB just showed up. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, man.
I'm there at the.
No worries.
This case.
Well,
their computers are down. I go, can't you just write the information down and then put it in the computer later?
No.
The kid's like, no, can't.
Yeah, I don't know how a pen. I don't know how to work a pen.
I'm there for like 40 minutes. The boss comes in, he goes, have you been helped? I go, I just want to get my shit and go. And he goes, just write his shit down and put it in later. And the kid goes, I
can do that.
Oh, okay. Now I'm starting to get a clearer picture now.
Well, no,
one of our contractors that had just walked by Paul's car.
Yeah.
What I was saying there, I'm going to keep we'll keep reiterating the books that we talk about and teach from as well, because Paul and I have applied these things in our lives and in our business, and the way we handle things is the How to Win Friends and Influence People book, because, you know, how to handle people. The lesson is straight from that book, where Paul even said there, you know, you can blame someone else for your mistake. Even someone might make a mistake and you could reprimand them for that mistake and everything else. And you know what? You're not going to correct that person or correct future actions of that person if you approach it from a standpoint of anger or resentment or putting them down for a mistake. And if you're the kind of person that made a mistake and you can own up to that, well, then you're going to get a lot more respect, loyalty, and action from the people you're working with. Kind of lost my train of thought slightly there, because as you had Bobby walking by your window, I've got my assistant walking by my window making goofy ass faces at me. So I'm going to throw it back over to you and just let him know I'm in the middle of the hangout and close my bedroom door.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what happens, or here's what happened. Basically, we took down this property. We're gonna get it prepared, do our typical prehab on a house here, where we're gonna clean it all out. Now there was some fire damage on this house, so the firemen cut a hole in the roof to let the smoke and the keep the back what do you call it, from the backflash from happening. And so it wasn't a big hole. I didn't realize that there was actually kind of two areas. No big deal. And so I sent, Bobby out here to come out and, patch the roof up. I'd been inside this house a while ago. It's all boarded up, so there's not a lot of vision in there. Didn't have a flashlight where I could really have a really super good look at things using the light on my phone, which was so. And, you know, what I saw was 2 holes up in the roof that need to be repaired. And then inside also 2 bottom pieces of, you know, one of the trusses basically that would have to be replaced as well too. So I'm just thinking on the exterior on the roof, hey, let's get Bobby over there to fix this up, right? Well, you know, so I'm going off of what I recalled seeing at the house when I went and visited it. And so I send Bobby out there and he says, you know, hey, you know, we got a lot of work here, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, whoa, man, I'm not quite sure what you're seeing there, but all we want to do is just cut out enough of the holes, you know, cut back the shingles as far as you need to take back the shingles and, you know, just square up the holes big enough as you need to square them up in order to, you know, plug the holes and, you know, patch in the felt and put some shingles back on it so that, you know, we got a hole that, you know, the rain's not coming in and quite possibly in this neighborhood some bodies aren't coming in. So that's what I told him to do. And so, you know, he did that. And then yesterday when I'm talking to him and he's heading over to get the you know, to get the shingles, because he found some shingles that are pretty close match on the color, because it's an old color, blah, blah, blah. Talking to him a little bit, and he's telling me about, well, I'm gonna have to jimmy around a little bit of this and that, where, you know, the board got cut by the chainsaw, and it's kind of just hanging there flopping. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, why wouldn't you just, I mean, I said as minimum as we need to, that's a need to thing. Okay, you know, you don't want to leave a piece of board flopping when you go to put your nail in there to put the shingle in. It's never going to freaking go in. You might snap the board. You're just going to have, you know, all kinds of problems here. So I'm thinking, you know, why would you half-ass it like that? And well, basically because I told him to half-ass it like that. You know, in his mind, what he heard out of my words was to half-ass it some way. So here I came down here today to see what the situation was and what we needed to do here. And lo and behold, what's actually here is not what I remembered, not what I thought I saw. There's more here. He was right. There's definitely, you know, more here, more work to have done. Now I definitely see where in my mind, you know, if I was in his position coming here to do this work, that I would have just automatically taken a little bit more, but that's neither here nor there. Fact of the matter is, I should have just came out here on day one, met him here, looked the job over together, laid it out. This is exactly what we want to do. This here, this here, this here. Yes, go this far. Don't stop here. Go this far. Those kinds of things. So I can't blame him for anything. It's all my fault. So that's kind of where it's at. So it's just a matter of, you know, he opened up the hole, patched in where he should, but you're just gonna have to open up the hole a little bit bigger. And then I'm seeing a whole nother area that I really didn't even recognize before, so we're gonna have to do that area as well too. And then there's another piece that we're gonna have him do as well too, as long as he's here, kind of a thing. So, you know, what we were thinking originally was just a couple of 2 little, you know, 4x8 kind of sized holes, is going to turn into kind of what I was envisioning in the beginning, which was going to be about a 10x10 area. It's going to be a little bit bigger than that, maybe about a 15x15 area. And then there's 2 other areas that basically, like I said, I just didn't recall seeing or notice that we're going to have to add in to the project.
Okay. Well, you know what, Paul? It sounds like to me just 2 things happened there. There was a miscommunication followed by an assumption. You say one thing and you assumed it was taken this way. See, people don't all think the same. We have a lot in common as people, but however, everyone's brain sees things differently. Some people here just do the minimum. They go in, they half-ass. Can you really blame them? Because it's their interpretation of the instructions that were given them. See, and I'm different, whereas my thinking is if I was telling a guy if there were 10x10 sheets on a house with burn damage, because that's what we're dealing with on this one, and it said just cut out the areas that are damaged and piece it in, you know, I wouldn't leave a floppy edge. I would go truss to truss, so I have something to screw the board down to solid. But some people wouldn't interpret that way. I may have made the same mistake as Paul, and I'm in construction and I own a paint business. And where I say I may have made the same mistake as Paul, I may have 10 years ago when I started that business. But one of the things I realized running paint crews is that, you know, for lack of a better way of saying it, I always expect that my employee in the construction business is going to do the least amount possible and find the easiest, most ridiculous shortcut to get things done. But the reason I kind of assume that now, and, you know, am very clear in my instructions, detailed, and if there's any sort of a question at all, you're in your vehicle, you go down to the job site, is because similar things like that has probably happened about a half a dozen times. And you know what? It still happens even after you go down there and show them exactly how you want it done. It could still happen. And at that point, you got to be like, is it my fault because I should have fired this damn guy? But, you know, right on the money. I mean, it comes down to communication. And in this day and age where a lot of communication takes place without even a phone call, and I've learned this in doing business with text messaging and emails, is you're communicating a message you're assuming is going to be taken the way you meant it, and that's not always the case. I don't know if we got up to that chapter in How to Win Friends and Influence People yet, Paul, but there's a specific chapter. I'm booking him, otherwise I can just pull up this example right now. But you know, this might be a good topic for Freedom Friday. I know we'd be getting ahead in the book a little bit, but there's a specific chapter about being clear, concise in your communication with others, and never, ever make an assumption, and explain yourself 2-3 times if you have to, and make sure that person really understands the instruction. So the lesson I would learn from this, Paul, basically is, yeah, you know, when there started to be question of what needed to be done, at that point, it's like, you know what, pull off today because I can't make it and I don't want any mistakes. Or, you know what, go grab yourself a sandwich and take the guys out for lunch, and I'll be there in an hour to specifically see what's going on. Because I know, you know, running my own crews with the paint business, that you've got to be real clear and concise in your communication and not assume anything really, because who knows what that other person is thinking. And whenever you're not physically there to see what they're talking about, and there begins to be a little bit of questioning, the only assumption I make is that person doesn't understand what I want done. So I need to go physically assess the situation and physically, face to face, have that conversation with that person to make sure we're clear, crystal.
Yeah. Brian actually brought up an interesting little thing. He was talking about, explaining to his guys how to get something done, and having a guy that, at a particular job in the past, he was like, I want you to do this. I want you to take that stuff right there, and I want you to put it over here. And then I want you to take this stuff over here and put it over there. Right. And the guy's like, well, wouldn't it be better if I did this and this? And he's like, well, it might be, but that's not the way I want you to do it. I just want you to take that stuff there, put it over here, and then take this stuff here and put it over there. Right. And the guy's like, well, wouldn't it be easier if we just did? And he's like, hey, listen, I hear what you're saying, but there's a reason why I want you to do it. Put this over here and then put that over there. And so the guy's like, well, what if we were just to, and then it's like, okay, listen, if I'm going to give you instruction, number one, I'm the guy paying you here, and this is what I want. Okay. So I'm paying you to do this job this way. So understand that. So no shortcuts, no thinking, just do the job the way that I want you to do the job, and everybody will be happy. And secondarily, if what I have you do ultimately ends up costing me more time and or more money, well, you know what? that's on me, bro. You don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to get mad at you because the job took longer or it cost me more money because I set you up to do it this way. So it's all on me. Have no worries about that. Just do the job as I'm asking you to do it. So, I mean, that's kind of a very interesting way to sort of just lay it out kind of nice and clearly that this is how I want you to do the job, or this is what I want you to do. So just kind of a little quick little sort of like you were talking about, sort of putting the clarity on you know, why and how you want something done a certain way, et cetera, and so on. And then the other thing that you talked about right there was the, you know, the stopping in the middle of what you're doing, you know, canceling the rest of the day, you know, getting out there to correct the situation or whatever. A lot of that could, I mean, like I said, I probably shouldn't have had to be in here at all, having the conversation yesterday at all, and or having to be here at all today, had I just avoided all of this in the very, very beginning by coming out here from the start and looking the whole situation over and setting up the plan 1, 2, 3 all the way right from the beginning. Of course, then again, too, it comes down to who you're setting that plan with, and can you count on them executing that plan as you laid it out in the first place, which sometimes that doesn't happen either. And that's when you get to the point where, you know, you got to do that pull off and go do that other thing. And then, you know, that's where you get to the point of now, okay, is this person the competent enough person that I need in this position to be able to do those things that I want them to do, you know, and basically kind of be that, you know, person who you can tell once and expect it to get done the way you want it done. So that's, you know, and that's kind of, that's a growth thing for both you and the other person, because if they want to be that person, if they want to have that responsibility and they want to make that money, you know, they need to develop into being that person who will listen and understand the plan and execute it the way that it was originally designed. And if they can't do that, then obviously, you know, they're not the right person for that position, and somebody else needs to be put in there. Not necessarily that you are going to just totally outright fire them, but maybe, you know, okay, well, we tried you here. You don't seem to be working out there. Well, let's try you over here. Maybe you're better at this piece over here, and you can still find somewhere for that person to fit in at a better level where they can perform at a higher level in something that more capable of. So just another thought there too. And with that, we got just a couple minutes left, John, if you want to go ahead and close us out with some words of Wednesday wisdom. That's pretty much my thought for the day.
Right. You know, a great topic. Excuse me, got that darn frog back in there. Shoot. Let's see if I can get through 2 minutes of conversation here before having to clear my throat again, because it's right on the brink of wanting to cough. What I was going to say here in closing up this hangout today, that I think this is a very good hangout because it was very off the cuff, kind of went with the situation that was handed to Paul this morning here and having to go down there. A few gold nuggets that I myself pulled out of this is, hey, listen, for you guys that are new into the fix and flips and you're establishing your team, your rehab team, your construction guys, the guys over there that are going to be working on your houses. Paul and I have been wholesaling since January 2012. This is the first year that we've actually started taking down the properties and doing some of the projects and clean out. And this particular one is a fire damage, a lot of roof damage. I believe in that house also, the drywall's been gutted, but it's either here nor there. Basically, you are going to have to build a team of rehab guys around you, your tiles, the guys that are going to be doing the demo, the landscapers, the roofing guys, in this case, the painters, you know, all these different tradesmen. And you're going to have to build a relationship with these people and have a communication with these people. And and starting that communication, you know, what I kind of took out of today is, let's not make any assumptions about how he's interpreting my instruction. And in fact, it would be a good idea, like once you're into your project, to reassess it, or at least partner up with someone to reassess it and knows how to get the things done. And if Paul knows how to assess a construction situation, I would too. That's our background. But you know what? We're still new in building our rehab team. And until we have found the right crew of guys, the right tradesmen out there that are going to be working with us on a regular basis, it's probably important to get through a number of projects with them, form the bond, form the alliance, form the mastermind, really. Because after you work with or you're around somebody for a period of time, you begin to form a third mind and almost think alike when it comes to approaching your mutual projects. And, had we had a long-term relationship established with the person that is doing this work for us, they may have just known what Paul wanted without really having to have him there. So we learned also that we're really not at that stage yet in our relationship with our contractors. So, we need a little more time to build that, get it through a couple projects so they know exactly how we want things done. It's like with the paint business. Every time we hire a new employee, they come in, they say, I have 15 years of painting experience. That's great, but you have zero experience working for Trend West Painting. And sometimes it takes 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months to get a new employee. And even with their 15 years of experience in the paint world, enough experience that I can leave them alone on my job site, that they know how I want it done. And as Paul said, you got some of the guys that start saying to you, well, what happens if we do it this way? Or I want to do it this way. It's like, listen, I appreciate the input, but at this stage, we want things done this way. And you say it in a nice way. It's like, you know what? I understand. Maybe it takes longer. Maybe you feel like you could get it done easier. However, I'm paying your paycheck, and I'd really appreciate it if you do it the way I'm asking you to do it. Bottom line. So, you got to have that, also develop confidence too, to deal with your employees, because ultimately they're looking to you to be a leader. So that's kind of my final summation of all this today. So I see it's 9:02. If Paul has no objection, I'll just go with the Napoleon Hill prayer, which goes, "O universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more Wisdom Wednesdays to hang out with John and Paul and improve this mind of mine and get it geared towards reaching my future goals." Kind of did a twist on the prayer there. You get the point. See you back here Friday.
Yeah, a little personal wisdom there to go with the universal wisdom. And with that, everybody, we'll see you back here on Freedom Friday for another exciting adventure with with the Property Noodlers, sell a house, wholesale real estate investing. Who knows where we'll go, but it'll be something good, a great little tidbit of wisdom and knowledge you'll be able to pull out of there, I'm sure. So we'll see you back here Freedom Friday. Have a great rest of your session.